What's going on, everybody? This is part 2 of the new series I'm putting up on YouTube. This is going to be how to attach the plexiglass window in your cutout. This should be a shorter video, but it was a little bit too much to add to the first part. So anyways, as you can probably see here, I've got my plexiglass. I've got what we worked with in part 1, which is the top for the PS1. I've also got a little tool. It's kind of a plexiglass cutting tool. It kind of really just scores the plexiglass. You can use stuff like razor blades or really sharp knives, but this is going to be the best tool because of the way this is. It'll actually make it easier for you to cut like this and score it. And I also have a Sharpie marker, which is going to be to mark this. Now, what we want to do here, we could go ahead and measure everything out. I guess that would be the proper way to do it, but with how many of these I do, it's just not very economical for me to just sit there and measure everything out. I mean, that would take forever. It would take way too long. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of guesstimate, and then we're going to cut it out, and we're going to see how it fits. And if we need to make any adjustments, we'll take take the cutter and trim a little bit off here and there, and that's how we're going to do this. So what we're going to do now, some of you might try to think that you can just go in here like this, and you can, but you want to make sure that if you're going to trace the inside of this, and that is the way I'm going to do it. But if you trace the inside, you have to remember two things. A, you can't do it directly on the plexiglass, or you're going to see that black ring. So what you do is, most plexiglass that has this little, you see me playing with it, there's plastic sheeting over covering up the actual plexiglass. So if you've still got that little plastic sheeting on there, then you're fine. Once you get it cut and everything, you'll just peel away this plastic stuff and the black will be gone and you don't have to worry about it. But again, if you don't, then you're going to have to do it a different way, and you're going to have to make sure that the markings are outside of the inside of this. So let's go ahead and we're going to take the marker and we're just going to make the marks. I'm going to make sure that everything is on the plastic so that it's not actually touching the plexiglass. And it don't have to be perfect, okay? Now the thing you're going to need to remember here is that if you cut it right on this line, you're going to be screwed, okay? Because I've seen some people where they do actually take it and insert it in this, but that's really difficult and it's going to take a lot of time. So I just do rough cutting. And the advantage of rough cutting is you're not going to see any of the stuff because it's going to be underneath, so it doesn't take you very long. Now, the only thing you have to remember is to go outside of this black line by maybe about a ½ an inch. Okay? So what we're going to do first is we're just going to do a simple little score all the way around. And this is going to be where we start the cuts. And that's going to be kind of our, our starting point. This. My plastic is wanting to mess up on me, of course. Alright. Okay. Now after that, you can go ahead and peel that up. Okay, because if you look, see if I can get it just the right angle. There we go. You can see that it's been cut like that. And all you're going to do is you're going to keep scoring it until it's deep enough where you can start breaking pieces off around it. So I would go around it maybe at least 6 or 7 times. And be careful not to go too far out or anything, so you won't waste any of the plexiglass and all that. Just make sure you follow in that same line, because if you don't, you're going to end up not having deep enough cuts when you go to try to break everything out of there. So just try to stay in it, and it won't be that hard with the plexiglass to stay in that line. It sounds harder than it actually is, but you'll see like there I went out just a little bit, but that'll be alright. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this off real quick. Alright, I've got this scored pretty well. I'm hoping it's going to be scored enough, but it may not be. I don't know. What we're just going to do is we're going to start breaking it off around. See? It is scored enough because it started to go right around it. Now, that went in a little bit, but that'll be okay because there are some places. So as long as it don't go in an insane amount, then you're alright. And that's also why we made it about a half an inch bigger all the way around, because stuff like that tends to happen. Now snapping out real nice. Okay, now I've still got a few little pieces. If you get it like that, where there's these little chunks, if you can't get it to snap off by itself, what you can do is get some pliers and actually take it. But if it's bad enough, what you're going to need to do is just go back and score it a few times. So let me get this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score that right here a few more times and get it, make sure it's deep enough so that it'll snap right off of there. Alright, let's see if we can just snap that off, just like that. Okay, now that's rough, and I mean if you look, it's rough. But that's the whole point, is that we're going to be able to go in and make adjustments. Now, where that, right here, that actually is kind of lucky. I'm hoping you're able to see it well, where it kind of bends in right there. If you look, there's a little place right here, and that's where it attaches inside the console so that the lid stays closed. So it's actually going to work out well to have that. See, as you can see, this is actually done. That's actually the first time. Usually I'm going to have to go back, and if I didn't accidentally cut it like that, I would actually have to come back and cut something like that so that it could go around. Sometimes you'll have to do the same about right here. But as long as it goes all the way around and you've got some overlap most of the way around like this, you're just fine. Because see, if you think about it, you're looking down at it like that, you'll never see any of that. Okay? So, what we're going to do now, I'm actually going to sand this a little bit. I've got a little bit of marker from when I made the mark. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to sand this inside edge just a tad here. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to need is, I use double-sided foam sticky tape. Sometimes double-sided mounting tape, whatever you want to call it. But that's the best stuff, it really is. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting little strips, and I'm just going to start placing them all the way around here, and that will get this started for that. I'm also going to blow out any dust or anything, so make sure if there's dust, you can just blow it out real good, because it'll make the tape not stick well. Alright, so I'm just going to get some scissors. I'm just going to start cutting little chunks. Cut about maybe 7 or 8 of them. You don't have to have it go all the way around. I mean, you can if you want. But I'm just going to cut little chunks about like that. And then just start sticking them on there. You want to get them kind of close. You don't want to get them all the way back. because you might miss the plexiglass in areas. So you just want to get it as close to that inner rim as you possibly can. Alright guys, I've got all the foam tape on there. Also, remember there's on the side that faces up, there's a little piece of paper, so you have to go through and peel off each of those little pieces of paper too. And I've already done that as well, so all the sticky side is exposed. Now all we've got to do is we've got to take the plexiglass, we're going to take off any plastic that's left over, kind of clean it up just a little bit, and then we're going to line it up and just pop it on in there. You're going to mush it down real good, make sure it's got a good seal on everything, I guess you could say. And that's it. You are attached and ready to go. Can't even hardly tell, can you? Alright, so that's it for part 2. Part 3 is going to be the harder part, and it's going to be the longer one. And for the people that bitch at me about talking too much, you're going to have plenty to bitch at me in part 3, because that's going to be all about LEDs, and I'm going to have to show you what you need to do to get the LEDs set up. And so yeah. Anyways, make sure to look in the description for the link to video 3, and I'll see you in a little bit.